Welcome to Ask the Funeral Director with Mike Voyajakis. Brought to you by Voyage Funeral Home and Crematorium. Now, here's your host, Mike Voyajakis. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Ask the Funeral Director on this Wednesday, August the 28th. Great to have you all on board. Another beautiful night downtown Winnipeg, and well, we've got a lot to get to tonight. We've got quite the show lined up. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the criminal justice system that's got a revolving door here in the city and province. We're going to talk about that because it doesn't just affect Manitobans, it also affects people from all across the country. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the stuff that's gone on over the past couple of weeks, which again has affected Manitobans. Created quite the concern and I guess the worry that just being out on our own streets is terrifying these days. Mike Voyajakis is here, and he's going to break down some of the troubles that we're seeing out there on our streets in Winnipeg and throughout Manitoba. There's been an attack with a machete recently, a couple of them actually. Mike's going to get into it with the sister of a boy who was attacked, a 15-year-old. That's coming up tonight as well. We're going to say hi to a lot of people as well. There's so much to get to, and we've also got Dr. Byram Brittle, who's a viral immunologist and a Canadian scientist for vaccine development at the University of Guelph, whose career was destroyed for speaking all about COVID vaccinations. More to come right after this. At the Cork and Flame, we're always cooking and ready with the finest for all our customers any time of day or night. From breakfast brunch to lunch and dinner, steak and seafood to ribs and more. The Cork and Flame Fine Dining. Always fresh, with fabulous desserts and a narration of the urban landscape, plus a passion for quality food. Eat, drink, chill. Cork and Flame, 3106 Portage Avenue. There's no hurry, so sit back and relax. Welcome back. Well, it's going to be an interesting night tonight. Mike, great to have you back on the program as always, because it is your show after all.
Always nice to be here with you, Brad. Another edition of Ask the Funeral Director. I knew if I didn't say that,
that's right.
You would get a little ticked off.
It wouldn't be the same kind of show. We're going to start off on a bad note if you don't say it. So We're going to say hi to some people quickly. I was surprised they all came up. No, actually, you're still missing a few. So Debbie McKenzie, thanks for coming on board from Tabor, Alberta. Daryl Inkster's here. Hey, guys. Randy Medwood's on board tonight from Toulon. Gord Roberger. I can't ever say his last name.
Patricia. Hi, Mike Voyajakis, Brad Wilder, Sharon Morrison. Good evening from Frankville, Ontario. Sue. Hello, Mike, Brad.
Hello.
Hello.
Oh,
Kathy Tickle. Tickle.
Tickle.
Larry's on the show. Viola Love.
Hi, boys. Love you guys.
We love
Thanks
you too,
for all
Bob.
you do. We love you too. Bye.
Yeah, bye. Sound like he's having a phone conversation. Love you too. Bye.
Yeah, bye.
Wally says, good evening, Mike and Brad. Daryl Inkster. Hey, Daryl, how's it going tonight?
Baby Ryan and CN Punk been flying lots today. So those are his geese. He's rescued geese. And if you watch Daryl Inkster, he's got his own little program there that he basically shows some of his geese sometimes. And those geese are amazing. He's really bonded with them. And I guess he's been trying to get them to fly away and leave the coop, but they're not going.
I guess we call him the geese guy.
The geese guy.
Brenda, good evening, Mike, Brad, from Long Sault, Ontario.
Hey, there you go. That's a ways away.
We got Patricia. She's saying hi to Al Bueller. She doesn't care about
us.
You know, hey, Jeff Hoffer. Haven't talked to Jeff in a long time. Jeff, thanks for tuning in the show. As Brad said, this is going to be a really, really interesting show. On standby, we have Brianna. She's the sister of Brody, the little 15-year-old that got attacked by a machete earlier this week. We're going to talk about his condition and what happened. And we're going to talk about the people that did this. And they're all young offenders, by the way. And the biggest reason we're bringing this up is because the crime in the city is completely out of control. People are afraid to walk in the streets, walk in their neighborhoods because of what's going on. And if we don't make some noise about this, it's not going to go away. It's going to get worse. And it could be your child, your loved one, who gets attacked next. As you know, January 24th, 2024, a day I will never forget, when my younger brother, Kyriakis Voyajakis, passed away at the hands of a person who was involved in the court system, rotating doors, back on the streets, and brutally murdered my brother, Kyriakis. Now we have more and more murders and beatings and all that kind of stuff that's taking place. The vandalism's out of control. You could be in your own house right now, and they're kicking in your door while you're having dinner with your families or watching TV, and they rob you as your whole family is home. This has got to stop. We have to make some noise. We have to put an end to this. The judges have to hear what's going on. Mayor Scott Gillingham, get off your chair. It's time to do some real work for the city of Winnipeg. And to our Premier, Wab Kinew, I think you're a really good guy. I think you have great intentions, and we need your help here. And I'm sure that you can make change that will affect everybody, your kids, your grandkids, and people watching the show. I'm really afraid for the future generation and what they have to face. And when we hear Brianna's story and she talks about her brother Brody, it's going to be heartbreaking to hear what took place. So we're going to leave that for that. We also have Dr. Brittle, which we're going to start to show off. And for those people thinking about getting vaccinated the second time around, because you know it's coming, monkeypox, take away the K, moneypox. Hey, where's the bananas you were supposed to bring on the show?
I forgot the bananas again.
So
I do have a special gift for you, but we'll wait for a minute.
It's a 10-minute video with a doctor here, but you need to listen to the video. But before you do this, please like, share, and follow the show. Tonight's the night to share the show. A lot of great things happening on it. A lot of good videos, a lot of great questions. We're going to hit this video right now. 10 minutes, but worth every minute of it. Listen to the words that this doctor says. Remember, he's a professional when it comes to vaccines. In his life, instantly, and a fast second, changed.
2 weeks ago, I gave an interview. It was a 5-minute radio interview. The company that runs the radio show did nothing wrong. The host asked me one question, and she did absolutely nothing wrong. She was doing her job. The question she asked me was if I knew whether or not there could be a possible link between COVID-19 vaccines and cases of heart inflammation that have been reported around the world in young males. In this case, it was 12 young males in Israel. And I've been delving into the literature very deeply because I'm a vaccinologist. My entire research program is based on the development of novel vaccines. My publication record is based on publishing information about vaccines. So I have a lot of expertise in this area. And indeed, I have, along with a large number of collaborators, both within Canada and internationally, have developed some serious concerns about the current COVID-19 vaccines. And so I felt that I could express concern and that there might be a possible link between this heart inflammation that's occurring and these COVID-19 vaccines. After I did this interview, 5 minutes, again trying to present to a lay audience, it was like a nuclear bomb went off in my world, and my life was thrown upside down. And I'm sure my life will never be the same again. So within 24 hours, there was a libelous website that was put up using my domain name. A fake Twitter account was developed to slander me. And I've been undergoing daily attacks, either through email, people attempting to call me, and definitely in the social media. And I never had a presence within the social media until recently when I now have a fake social media presence. This has been very hard on me and my family. For the first, I should also mention, I'm experiencing harassment, lots of harassment in the workplace. Now, with that said, I want to point out, I'm from the University of Guelph. The administration of my institution has made it very clear that they are very supportive of me. They honor and respect the basic tenet of academic freedom and freedom of speech. So for my institution, I really appreciate that. But there's colleagues of mine who have been harassing me, both in the social media and in the workplace. It's even gone so far as to have one of the members of the Ontario COVID-19 Science Advisory Committee. They were actually the first ones to post the link to this slanderous website. And they have fanned the flames of this smear campaign quite strongly since then. They even went so far as to release confidential medical information about my parents. This is an egregious act. This is a practicing physician. A practicing physician should know that they should not be releasing confidential information about people, medical information, in the social realm. So these are the types of things that I've been experiencing over the past couple of weeks. After 3 days, it was like a walking zombie. I got about 1.5 hours of sleep the first several nights. Then I got it together because of my support network. I've got a couple of colleagues locally at my institution who have stood shoulder to shoulder with me. I'm part of the Canadian COVID Care Alliance. This is a group of individuals. In fact, the reason that we exist is sad. We exist because we're like-minded in the sense that we all want to be able to speak openly and freely about the science and medicine underpinning COVID-19. And we don't feel safe to do it anywhere else other than within our own private group, where we feel safe. Myself and one other member of that group, our group has grown to 100 members and is still rapidly growing. We're quite new. And only 2 of us are willing to talk to the media about this group. The others are too afraid for their jobs. They're afraid, they're physicians that are afraid they're going to lose their license to practice, and they're academics and other professionals who are afraid that they are going to lose their jobs. So, what I'm going to talk about right now is exactly why I've been harassed, okay? And so this science that I'm going to talk about very briefly, I don't have much time, so I'm just going to be very brief. But if you want more information about this, I've written a comprehensive guide for parents so that they can make informed decisions about COVID-19 vaccines when it comes to vaccinating their children. This guide you can find at the website for the Canadian COVID Care Alliance. So that is canadiancovidcarealliance.org. And what happened in this interview? When I was asked if I'm concerned or if I saw potential for a link between heart inflammation and the COVID-19 vaccines, I said I did. And this is why. What we have learned, and we've learned this from a large body of scientific literature, we've also learned this from reports that were submitted by Pfizer themselves to regulatory agencies, one in particular to a regulatory agency in Japan. And what we have learned is, I'm very familiar with vaccines, and traditional vaccine technology would tell us that when you put a vaccine into the shoulder, and that's where we get vaccinated with the COVID-19 vaccines, traditional vaccine technology tells us the vaccine would stay on the shoulder. And then what would happen is cells from the immune system would come and pick up the spike protein. All these vaccines get our bodies to manufacture the spike protein, right? So cells of the immune system pick up that spike protein, take it to the local draining lymph node, and activate the immune system. That's why often when we get sick or we've been vaccinated, sometimes our lymph nodes swell, because that's where our immune response is happening, and our B and T cells go throughout the body to look for the virus. Okay? So this was an assumption, and I accept that early on in the pandemic and when we were first rolling out these vaccines, we've had to largely work based on assumptions. But you know what? The scientific literature has exploded over the last 16 months, and we understand so much more. Okay, and so now we're looking at vaccinating children, and it's no longer okay to proceed based on assumptions. And so what we have found is that this assumption about the vaccine remaining in the shoulder does not apply to this novel vaccine technology that's never been in people before. These messenger RNA vaccines get distributed throughout the whole body. What we have found, in fact, is that as little as 25% of the dose remains in the shoulder, and it traffics all over the body. Also, many of you might have heard of polyethylene glycol, because that is one of the components of the vaccine that sometimes people develop an anaphylactic shock to. Okay? The polyethylene glycol was put in this formulation. A lot of people don't realize these lipid nanoparticles, these little bubbles of fat that carry this little blueprint that helps our cells make the spike protein, those lipid nanoparticles were actually originally designed to disperse throughout the body. They were designed to be gene therapy vectors and also carry drug cargo, especially into the brain, where it could be used to treat things like Parkinson's disease and Alzheimer's disease and brain cancers. That polyethylene glycol, just so that you know, is designed to help facilitate that spread throughout the body. You get about 5-fold greater spread throughout the body with the polyethylene glycol there. Do you know why? Because when the polyethylene glycol is there, it actually helps the lipid nanoparticles bypass the very cells of our immune system that are supposed to pick up the antigen and take it to our lymph nodes. So arguably, by having that polyethylene glycol there, not only are we promoting spread throughout the body, but we may actually be dampening the very functionality of the vaccine that we want. Okay, and a lot of this is speculation, of course. But what we do know for sure, What is not speculation is this vaccine spreads throughout the body. What we also know is that proper studies have not been conducted. Remarkably, this is based on a rat study, a study done in rats, and that's appropriate as a starting point, but that should not be the end point. This should have been done in at least 2 animal models. And remarkably, it hasn't been done in people. And it has not been done at all with the actual vaccine formulation that we are administering to our children. It has not, the actual vaccine formulation has not even been evaluated. What's been evaluated is the lipid nanoparticle technology, but not the vaccine itself. Even when it comes to reproductive studies, when the reproductive studies were done, only female mice or female rodents were vaccinated. The males were not. And also what people don't realize, and there was no evidence of any issues with fertility. What people don't realize is these rodents are completely inappropriate models for COVID-19. They don't express the receptor like we do. So of course you're going to see safety in a model like that. It's an inappropriate animal model. So what I'm trying to get out to you here is there are studies. We were told there would be no shortcuts. There have been shortcuts. Okay? Now I can understand when in a panic, and when we're trying to deal with something that we felt was extremely dangerous, I can understand, again, moving based on assumptions. But remember, what I'm focusing on here are children and vaccinating healthy children. Mass vaccination of millions of healthy Canadian children demands that the level of safety associated with this, the assessed safety profile, has to be exceptionally high. Right? We've had 13 Canadians under the age of 20 die in 16 months. With well over 2,500 dying from other causes, okay? So this is just to put it in perspective. So we really need to focus on the safety here. And then what I just want to point out is this science is backed up by many scientists and many physicians, including one of the inventors of messenger RNA vaccine technology, Dr. Robert Malone. Okay? So this is a genuine concern for children, and where this leads me to is by expressing this, my career may very well have been destroyed, and I don't understand that. It's incomprehensible to me that this has happened. Okay, but as Canadians, we have to ask ourselves: do you want your physicians and scientists, their voices suppressed? We're polarized right now. We're polarized in Canada. We have people on both sides. We have to understand we're just as passionate. We feel that we are trying to look after the best interests. We're doing our cost-benefit analysis, for example, in my case with children. And I honestly feel that by proceeding with vaccination right now, without conducting the proper safety tests, we may do more harm than good. I'm passionate about that, but I'm respectful of those who hold the opposite opinion. I would ask for the same for myself and my colleagues. We can't suppress open discussion of science and medicine in Canada. It's a hallmark of a democratic society. Okay, and one of the other things I want to point out is I'm here representing physicians, scientists, members of the media who feel suppressed, and I've also been asked to represent some politicians who approached me privately, who feel that their jobs are at risk, and MP Derek Sloan can certainly attest to what happens if you speak up too much.
Well, there you go. Derek Sloan's going to attest to it. Guess what? I just so happen to know Derek Sloan, and I'm going to be getting him on the horn to come on the show maybe in a couple of weeks from now.
Bravo to this doctor for standing up. Obviously, he's telling you that the vaccine is not safe for children. It hasn't been tested correctly. The vaccine is not doing what it's supposed to be doing. It's causing myocarditis. He's made that clear. So because he's spoken out, now he's facing the justice.
That's right. And that's not
that's
good.
Terrible. But I want to go on to say something else to you. I didn't talk to you about this, Brad. But when you're sending your children to school this year, you need to know one of the things that you have to fill out is by signing this consent, you are agreeing to allow the school health center to provide the following services to your child. And one of them is immunization.
Yep.
So I had it circled on here, but read that paper before you sign it, because health screening, laboratory diagnosing, testing, behavioral health services, health education and prevention programs, acute care for minor illnesses, case management. This goes on and on. The schools are trying to take control of our children and be the parents and decide what's good for our children when really they don't even know what's good for themselves. So,
well, they have no business playing doctor.
They have no business in our homes. They have no business telling our families what to do. Be a parent. Make sure you protect your child. Our child, our most precious gifts that we've ever had, more
For the
precious than
future.
your bank account, more precious than your cars. They are our future. They are our children. Stand up for your children. Stand up for their rights. Don't let your child be vaccinated if that is not your wish. We're not telling you what to do either way, but this doctor just did. We're going to go on to another news story, and then we're going to bring on Brianna.
Yeah, absolutely. This next news story, something that's interesting as well about what's going on here in Winnipeg, right?
This is going to tell you what's going on in the streets of Winnipeg that I'm trying to stand up against. We need justice. We need to fight back. We can't let this crime keep getting out of control. And the crime is controlling us now. And that's why we have premiers and mayors and a police department to protect us. And right now, because of the catch and release system, that's just not happening. Listen to this news story, then we'll bring on Brianna, the sister of Brody, who was attacked by a machete earlier this week.
Violent crime in Winnipeg is on the rise, and a new report suggests much of it is random. Winnipeg Police released its annual statistics report today, giving us an in-depth look at the crimes committed in our city. And joining us now to break it all down for us, the CTV's Danton Unger. Danton, what do these stats show?
Well, Marilee, the good news, overall crime is down slightly in 2023. That's largely driven by a drop in property crime. The bad news, the overall crime is still well above the 5-year average. And when it comes to violent crime and crimes involving youth, many involving weapons, the city's trend is heading in the wrong direction. Of the more than 70,000 crimes committed in Winnipeg last year, property crimes made up about 70% and violent crimes about 21%.
Drugs drives a lot of crime in the city, the violent crime for sure. A lot of the retail theft that you see, some of it's related to raising funds to purchase drugs.
That crisis leading to a historic 5-year high in violent crimes with more than 15,000 reported. While about half were committed using physical force, a growing number of criminals made use of knives, guns, and other weapons. The use of bear spray dropped sharply. Police credit this to tighter provincial regulations enacted last year.
The use of bear spray in violent crimes dropped nearly 40% for the remainder of the year and continues to decline rapidly into 2024.
Police say about half of these crimes were committed by strangers. It's not just violent crimes seeing a spike, it's violent crimes committed at the hands of youth. Those hands often holding weapons.
Youth violent crimes involving a weapon have also doubled since 2021, with youth accounting for 1 in 5 persons charged with a weapons crime.
Police say there were 1,147 violent youth crimes last year, a 43% spike over the 5-year average. About half resulted in charges, while nearly 30% were addressed through departmental discretion, like a warning or a referral to a restorative justice program.
We'll never police our way out of this, what's happening in our community. We need other solutions that are addressing the root causes.
Winnipeg's overall property crimes decreased by about 7% in 2023, driven by a drop in break-and-enters and catalytic converter thefts. But shoplifting jumped last year with more than 6,000 reported incidents, that number doubling since 2021. Hate crimes also hit a 5-year high in 2023 with 46 reported incidents, about half motivated by religion, largely against those of Jewish and Muslim backgrounds.
We are seeing an uptick nationally in hate crimes across the country.
Now, Marilee, police say there were 46 homicides last year. Of those, more than 2/3 involved a knife or a firearm, and 9 remain unsolved.
Dan, did Winnipeg's mayor have anything to say about this today?
Yes, he did, Marilee. He was asked about this earlier today, and he says the information in the report is concerning.
It's consistent with what I think we've been hearing in media reports and what the police have been saying. And this is something that I've raised directly with the Prime Minister one-on-one. I've raised it with the Premier as well. He and I have discussed it. There's a concern related to youth crime and youth violent crime specifically, and the type of weapons that are being used.
Mayor Gillingham says he wants to continue working with the police and the province so that they can turn these trends around. Now, if you want to see a full breakdown of these statistics along with more information, that's all on our website at ctvnewswinnipeg.ca.
Well, as you know, I would never start to attempt to bring this up right now, but I've got a really good gift for you, Mike. And
Another gift?
Yeah, I think it's one of those gifts that you're going to need to have in the future here. So
oh my God!
I brought you the official gavel.
Oh, look at that!
But this is a special gavel. It's two-sided. This one's got the ridges on it to do damage, and the other side's flat. But bottom line is, this is the iron gavel. This isn't your normal wood gavel that your mom used to break over your butt.
Wow! So we need order in the city.
We need justice.
Justice.
I don't think the mayor has one of these, and I don't think he's got one to use on the judges or the criminal justice system in the city, but you do now.
I think what the mayor doesn't realize is tomorrow's too late. We need action now. We need action today. We need to save our children, allow our elderly population to be safe in their neighborhoods, to be able to live their lives.
That's correct.
After working so hard, they have to worry about going out and getting beaten up by some thug.
Just walking down the street like Brody.
Crazy.
Right?
Brody was walking down the street. We're going to bring Brianna on now.
Well, in a minute.
In a minute?
Yeah, we're going to play this video first.
Oh, we're going to play one more video, then we're going to bring Brianna on.
Right. We'll do this, and this will give you a little bit of a rundown of what happened to her brother. Here we go. Oh, one quick second. I know that the audio's got a little X on it and shouldn't have that X there, so we'll fix that real fast. Get this restarted here. Take it back to the very beginning. How do we get there? We don't want to be there. We want to be over there. My apologies.
Look at Brad work his magic as we're
sometimes technical things can go on. Gotta still go back here and make sure that this little level right here is turned up. There we go. Let's do this.
The provincial government is considering regulating machetes. Live with more on the calls for change tonight, ASCTV's Danton Unger. Danton, how would the province even begin to regulate machetes?
At the point of sale, Marilee. That's what Manitoba's Justice Minister told reporters today. He says it's worked in the past with bear spray, but it comes as the city is seeing machete attacks skyrocket. The brutal attack happened here in the 300 block of Selkirk Avenue Saturday night.
In all honesty, this is one of the most serious attacks that we've investigated involving a machete.
Constable Danny McKinnon with the Winnipeg Police says a 15-year-old boy was robbed and attacked by another teen wielding a machete.
This victim has sustained extremely serious injuries to his upper body, face, hands. I believe there was an amputation.
She says anecdotally, machete attacks have skyrocketed in the city. While they don't track machete-specific incidents, the number of violent crimes committed with knives, which includes machetes, jumped 22% last year. Right now, there aren't any rules on where and how to sell these things. I just bought this bush machete here in Winnipeg. It wasn't locked up, and I wasn't ID'd. But that could change.
We can restrict the availability of machetes in our community. So we're going to do that. We're going to make that step.
Manitoba Justice Minister Matt Wiebe says the province will be making new legislation in the fall to regulate machetes and will be working with retailers to determine how best to do that.
They don't want to see these weapons out in their communities either. So we're going to make sure that they understand that the impact that these are having and how we can implement a point of sale restriction.
It has worked in the past. Last year, the province put regulations on the sale of bear spray, and that's led to a drop in bear spray attacks.
I particularly am a little bit skeptical.
Rick Schoen, owner of Wilderness Supply on Isabel, hasn't sold machetes for years, and now he's even started to pull knives off his shelves.
I hate to say it's inviting trouble, but it kind of is.
He says something needs to be done.
I think it's going to be really hard with machetes because you really can't get them anywhere online. It's very hard to regulate unless you simply say, let's just make it illegal.
In this most recent attack, police say a 15-year-old boy was arrested and charged with aggravated assault, robbery, possession of a weapon, and 4 counts of failing to comply with a probation order. He was detained in custody, and police say the investigation is ongoing.
Danton, have you been able to get any update on the condition of the victim in the case?
Well, the boy's family tells us he's lucky to be alive. He had a fractured skull, nerve damage, and needed multiple fingers to be reattached. He had to undergo 20 hours of surgery. but he's now awake and his family says he is in good spirits despite the extent of his injuries.
Oh, we wish him a speedy recovery. All right, thanks for this, Stanton.
Well, there you have it, Mike. That's the story, and it's a sad one at best. Winnipeg has some pretty major difficulties going on, and we need to somehow.
Hang on a minute. Hang on. You know, Brad, they talk about knives.
They do.
And I want to show you, this is a barbecue knife. And if you look at this knife and the damage this knife can do, and this is just your typical barbecue knife that people are using every day that you could get at your local stores. People are using this every day of the week. So getting rid of machetes is one thing, but I think it's getting tough on crime. So when people have a weapon like this, they think twice about using it because there's consequences. So right now when you use something like this and use it as a weapon, the consequences are very little. This guy got charged for aggravated assault. That's it. That's all. After taking off a couple of fingers and this young boy clinging to his life. And that's all it is, aggravated assault. Back on the streets the very next day.
Very, very sad.
And it's no different than most murders in the city. You know, people are killing people, beating people, and they're back on the streets the next day. I'd like to welcome to Ask the Funeral Director right now, Brianna. Brianna, welcome to the show. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So Brianna is the sister of Brody, the young man that was attacked with the machete. So, Brianna, tell us what happened that day. How's Brody doing today, and how many operations has he been through? There's so many questions I have to ask you, and we're also live here, so I'm going to go on the screen and ask some questions that maybe our audience has. So, first of all, tell us about yourself and Brody and what kind of person he was and what happened that night.
So my name's Brianna. I'm Brody's older sister. He was born when I was about 10 years old, so I'm about 10 years older than him. And the incident that he had gone through, Brody is a person, he is a very lively person. Even after the attack, you would expect him to be in really hard spirits, really struggling, and he's trying to make the best of everything that's coming for him. He is trying to work through this as best as he can in a positive note. He has a long way to come. So he has sustained a lot of injuries from what had happened, but I'm going to talk about what happened first so that people have an understanding of that, obviously. So basically the incident happened on August 10th around 11 p.m. and Brody and his friends were out on Selkirk Avenue near Flora, but not quite there. Brody and his friends were out and they were just hanging out, having fun, and they noticed a drunk 12-year-old girl on the side of the road that looked like she had needed aid. They had went over to her to try and ask her if she needed help, and she had threatened to have a bunch of guys beat them up. She had said she had 4 guys that she was going to pull on them, as per my conversation with Brody. They approached her, and that's what came of it. And she ended up initiating 2 boys onto the kids. All of my brother's friends ran, and Brody tried to run too, but they caught up to my brother, unfortunately. And they had then proceeded to begin attacking him with a machete and a baton, and they had ended up slicing him open numerous times. He has several deep lacerations. He has a broken arm. He had a finger completely severed off. He was really, really bad off. Like, he almost didn't make it. The cops had said that if what had happened after the attack didn't happen, he wouldn't have made it. And what I mean by that is Brody had one of his friends that had ran off and taken cover to try and get away from these guys, but had noticed that Brody wasn't with them and had waited around. And this friend had actually gone out of his way after the attack to go over and aid to Brody. And he held my brother together, and he held his wounds together so he wouldn't bleed out, and he picked up his finger off the ground. And I believe there was 2 fingers. I could be wrong about that. I know for sure there was 1. There was possibly 2. But he was picking up Brody's body parts off of the ground and holding on to them. He was the one that flagged down police for Brody to then get ambulance. And the police had said if his friend hadn't had done that, and I can't name him because he's also a youth and it's to protect all of them, but that he wouldn't have made it at all. That he's very lucky to be here today. He had to undergo from my understanding now, 15-hour surgery, but when it was happening, it appeared to have been 20 hours. However, we have been told 15, so we're saying 15. He had a major surgery. The surgery had been prolonged numerous times throughout because the doctors had literally told us after the fact that they had pulled every string in the book to reattach first of all, his finger, secondly, his veins, all throughout his body, and they had pulled every single trick to put his body back together. His surgery was extremely complicated. It was actually so complicated that they had to do it in the adult side of emergency because children's could not handle it. He was transferred to children's about a week later. They robbed my brother, the attackers. They took his phone. That was all they wanted, was his cell phone. There were, 2 guys that had attacked him. And again, they attacked him with a machete. And he had, he was rough. He was in really rough shape. I've never seen my brother in such rough shape. It was tough seeing him like that. And it was tough being in his presence and trying to keep a positive attitude as per trying to keep him in light spirits with everything going on. It was just really tough to see him like that. I'm glad he's okay, but his injuries were very extensive.
So I think we need to say a big thank you to his friend. If it wasn't for his friend, Brody probably wouldn't be alive. And that's when we make a difference. That's when we make a difference. And that's when care and love and compassion kicks in, when you help a friend who's dying and you made the difference and reached out to the police. And thank you to the police officers and to the ambulance and to all the professionals that were on the scene. And most of all, thank you to the doctors who put in an effort like they've probably never have before to reattach his fingers and allow him to be able to have his fingers again. And I'm sure you really never know if he's going to be able to use his fingers until time goes on. And we hope that operation was successful. I understand that an 80-year-old gentleman was also assaulted during this whole part here.
That's correct.
Maybe you could tell us about that?
Yes. So a week prior to Brody's incident, there was an 80-year-old man that was sitting outside of a block in the same general area. It wasn't exactly where Brody got attacked. I don't remember the exact location. There is news reports about it out on the internet. I can send those to you after to report about as well. However, he was outside smoking a cigarette, and the teenagers had come and tried to initiate a bunch of public commotion with various people in the area. Most of the people had just ran away, gone inside their houses, ran inside, locked their doors type thing. The 80-year-old man, unfortunately, was sat outside on his steps smoking a cigarette, just minding his business. And they chose him as a target, and they attacked him. And they attacked him so brutally that they nearly cut his jugular. He would not have been here today at all. He was extremely lucky. We're extremely thankful that he's still here as well. His family is very much involved, and they have been speaking with us as well and keeping in contact with us. We are very, very glad that he's here today because they were extremely close to cutting his jugular.
So I commend you, Brianna, for being so strong and coming on and talking about your brother and what he went through and the pain your family obviously is facing. And tell me, what's it like out there for somebody your age, 25, that's living in this world where things are just going the wrong way right now? Is it scary to be a 25-year-old, a 15-year-old right now in Winnipeg, Manitoba?
It's really tough, honestly. I don't live in Winnipeg anymore. I moved out southeast of the city. But it's really, really tough out there. I have children of my own, first of all, and that's the first thing I'm going to speak on. So I have my own little ones, and they're very, very young. And growing up in today's world, it's part of my responsibility to make sure that these kids are growing up in a safe and healthy environment, not just at home, but also where they live and out in public. And in Manitoba right now as a whole, I don't feel safe having my kids out. Don't get me wrong, I take them out when I have to go to doctor's appointments, to go shopping and whatnot when I have to. But I do not feel safe having my kids out in public with me at all. I don't feel safe them being in public at all. Back in 2016, because I was 17 years old, I had a boyfriend at the time, and his name was Mason. Mason and his brothers one evening had gone for a walk in the West End on Banning, from Banning to the 7-Eleven on Ellis and Arlington, I believe it was. And they had gone on a walk there around 11 p.m., around the same time that Brody got attacked, that night that he got attacked. Well, him and his brother had been approached by some random people in a back alley on their way there, and they also had knives on them, and my ex had gotten stabbed. He got stabbed in the back, and his injuries were so extensive back then when I was 17 that he had to be rushed to the hospital, and they had to cut him open from right below his pectoral muscles all the way down to his groin, past his belly button, and open him up to sew him back together because they had actually punctured into vital organs with one stab wound. And from my understanding in that particular situation, the cops never caught the people that did it. They said it was a random attack, and they had a description of the guys, but from my understanding, they were never caught. They're still out there, and we don't know who did it. So I don't feel safe at all, especially given that Manitoba has just been getting worse since then in my own experiences.
So I have another question for you. So the 12-year-old, 15-year-old, 14-year-old that attacked your brother, what charges have been laid, and what do you think personally of the charges? And then we'll talk further about what we want to see done about this. So tell us about the charges that were laid against.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay.
So the 12-year-old drunk female, she was charged with assault with a weapon ×1 and possession of a weapon ×1. She has been arrested already and released with promise to appear in court, meaning she's back on the streets already in Winnipeg right now. On August 10th, according to Winnipeg Police Services on Facebook, the 15-year-old male was arrested and detained in custody, while the 14-year-old was still outstanding. The 15-year-old, who I was just speaking about here, was found in a home in the 300 block of Flora with Brody's phone with him, and was arrested and charged with 1 count of aggravated assault, 1 count of robbery, 1 count of possession with a weapon, and failure to comply ×4. He was detained in custody and remains in custody right now. On August 15th, the 14-year-old, the other person that attacked my brother with a machete, was sending threatening messages to social services, according to WPS, prompting a lockdown and police being summoned. The 14-year-old male was located in the first 100 block of Kerosene Lane and taken into custody and charged with aggravated assault ×2, possession of a weapon ×2, robbery ×1, failure to comply with sentencing ×5, uttering threats, damage to property, and mischief under 5,000, and was detained. These children have had numerous offenses aside from the 12-year-old, from what we understand right now anyway. And they are being, what seems like, caught and released numerous times, and it simply isn't working. It's not keeping our youth safe. It's not keeping our adults safe. It's not making our province look good. And it's causing an outrage. We're not happy with these charges. Brody himself has asked that we fight for harder charges and that we fight for attempted murder charges, and that we fight for adult sentencing for these youth, as they have had 4 sentences and 5 sentences already and still have not gotten the message.
I'm going to tell you right now that there's going to be a lot of us fighting for Brody and all the other children on the streets for their safety. I'm going to talk about my own situation just for a fast second before we talk about what we're going to do next. My brother Kyriakis, you and I talked about him, 51 years old, owner of the Cork and Flame on Portage Avenue, and was brutally murdered at his restaurant. The person that murdered him was part of the catch and release program numerous times. We need to put a stop to this in this province. If we don't put a stop to us, if the judges don't listen, we're going to lose more of our family members. This is brutal what's happening. There's anarchy on our streets, and they're sitting back and doing nothing about it. Enough's enough. We are going to stand up together. We're going to help you fight for Brody. We're going to help you fight for all these other kids that need our help. This cannot go long anymore. It brings tears to my eyes. It breaks my heart that he was robbed over a cellular phone, lost his fingers, almost lost his life. It's just telling you people how scary it is in this city. And if you're not going to join us for this event that we're going to put on, you don't want to see a solution. This event's going to come from our hearts. We're going to put it on behalf of my brother Kyriakis, on behalf of Brody, on behalf of other people that have been victims of crimes, and there's many of them. And your hearts must be broken to listen to Brianna's story, to listen to my story, and many, many other stories out there that we don't hear about, of people who are brutally murdered, brutally attacked, all the vandalism that's going on, all the things that are happening in our city, and we need to say enough's enough. And when Mayor Scott Gillingham says, we're working on this, that's not good enough. We need you to work on it now. We need these judges to put laws in place that are going to scare the crap out of these people, and they're not going to do it again. Because if this happened in another country, there'd be harsh penalties for what they did. I'm telling you right now that we're going to get together with you and your family on September 18th at 1 p.m. at the Law Courts building in Winnipeg, and we're going to get as many people out as possible, and we're going to show that we care. We're going to show that we're going to make a difference, and we're going to unite no matter which group we belong to. We're going to unite as one, and we're going to fight for this cause. This little 15-year-old that almost lost his life, this little 15-year-old that's going to struggle for many years to be normal again, and for his family. And I want you to know, Brianna, that my audience that's watching, Brad and myself, pray for you and your family. And our hearts go out to you, and we truly love you and are sorry for what you're going through. But with God's help, we will get through this. And I'm sure your brother had a little angel with him that day that kept him alive in this situation. But tell us what you'd like to see happen at the Law Courts building on September 18th at 1 p.m.
Well, so we have a Facebook page going right now. It's called Justice for Brody, and we're collecting numbers of people who would like to take part in this protest, trying to get this all arranged so that everyone has the information going on. If you guys would like to join that, it's Justice for Brody on Facebook, and it's a Facebook page. In terms of what we want to happen with this protest, we definitely need numbers. We need support. We need people to come out, and we need you to make your voices loud. Not in the sense of yelling particularly, but yes too, but in the sense of also just coming out and expressing how you feel. Because we've had so much support on social media, on Facebook, people outraged, even on WPS about the situation. We need you to come out and speak and give those voices to the public court offices so they can hear us, so they can actually listen and put some action to this. Because this catch and release system, you're right, it needs to stop, it needs to come to an end, and it needs to change. Because criminals that are caught in this catch and release system, they're not listening. Just like the court system right now is not listening to us, the criminals are not listening to the court system, and that is a problem, and it's a huge problem for Manitoba, especially when we're known as friendly Manitoba.
And why would you listen? Why would you listen when you know you could commit a crime, and you know the next day, a couple days later, you're back on the street again? In the last couple of weeks, there's been numerous crimes that have taken place where people have died, and the person's been released the same day that person's died. And you know what? Enough's enough. I, for one, am going to come out and speak with you. We'll provide the sound system. We'll provide as much help as we can. Brad and I will be there. We'll bring out as many people as we can. This is not a joke anymore.
Nope.
This is real, friends.
Yes.
This is real.
This is just a matter of time till it reaches your front door.
Yeah, when is it going to reach your front door? And then you're going to say, these guys are just talking. No, it's real. It hurts. And this is happening in our city to our family members. And it could be your family member next. If we don't stand up together, unite, and fight for what we believe in. Right, Brianna?
Yes. Yes.
I'm
100%.
sure that every one of these people that are watching the show right now are praying for your brother, a speedy recovery, and that he comes out of this and is normal and is able to live life normally. I know that this is going to haunt him for many years, but please pass on our prayers and our love to him. And we're going to come out there in numbers on September 18th. Keep doing all the work you're doing. Keep fighting for your little brother. I'm proud of you. I'm sure Brody's very proud of his big sister right now, standing strong and making a difference. Because if it wasn't for people like you, this is not going to go away. It's just going to be another victim and another day. So thank you from the bottom of our hearts for coming onto the show and making a difference. The people of Winnipeg appreciate you. The people of Manitoba appreciate you. And we definitely appreciate you.
We do, yes, very much.
Thank you. I just wanted to really quickly clarify with you guys and with the public as well that it was previously stated that Brody had 2 broken arms. However, that's been corrected. He had 1 broken arm and deep lacerations and the finger chopped off on the other arm. And also in terms of how he's doing actually really well. He's recovering now. He's out of hospital. He has a long way to come. So he has a lot of therapies in terms of not only therapy for mental health, but also therapy for physical health. He's got numerous reconstructive surgeries that he's going to have to go through in the future. But as for right now, he's currently recovering from this huge traumatic event as well as the major surgery that he just endured. Yeah, but he is doing well and he is in good spirits.
What a tough thing for him to go through.
Yeah, he's watching. He knows you guys are supporting him. I talk to him every day.
So we're gonna tell you that date again. We're gonna keep pushing it. I strongly suggest you keep pushing it on Facebook. We should get a lot of groups together. There's a lot of people that are pissed off at the justice system. A lot of people. We should invite all these groups to come because when we get together in numbers, we make a difference. And eventually, they're gonna hear us. We're gonna be at the law courts building where the judges are, and we're gonna disrupt things that day. But we're gonna do it in a peaceful manner. We don't want this to be a 100%. Violent outcome. We don't want anyone else to get hurt, but we want you to be there in numbers. Come on, people. You got to make a difference. You got to be there on the 18th at 1 o'clock and stand strong and stand united with all of us. Thank you again, Brianna. You take care of yourself and your family and say hi to your brother for us. And if there's anything we can ever do for you, just let us know because the government and our system has let your family down.
They really have. They really have. Numerous times. Thank you so much for having me.
And the same goes with my brother. They let us down. And not only that they let us down as far as the crime went, but they let us down afterwards with all the garbage that went on and all the lies and all the corruption. And the corruption needs to stop in the city and the truth needs to be told. I'm sick of it. I'm going to stand here and tell the truth and I'm going to stand up for people like your brother who can't stand up for himself and other people that have been victims of crimes that don't have a voice. So we got you.
Yeah, we got your back.
We got your back. So you enjoy the rest of your evening and give everybody a hug for us.
Thank you so much. I will.
Okay. Take care of yourself.
Thanks, Brianna. That was great, Mike. Lots to come in the future, obviously, with the big event coming up on September the 18th. It's your chance to come out, not only support Mike and what's gone on with his family, but Brianna's as well. And this will be a great opportunity for, well, like-minded Manitobans to really lay the gavel down.
Lay the gavel down. You know what? You got to do this. Really, enough's enough. Look at this poor girl. You know, she has her younger brother, she has a kid at home, and she has to deal with this tragic event over a cellular phone. Think about it. I tell my mom this all the time. I go, Mom, they will kill you for $5. They will knock you to the ground. It doesn't matter how old you are, like they did with this 80-year-old gentleman. I keep talking about the older population that's worked so hard and that's built our city, and now we're afraid to go outside and walk. They're afraid, and they have good reason to be afraid. And Mayor Gillingham, Premier Wab Kinew, listen, the people are talking. We need your help. I have solutions, but I'm not in control or power to make those things happen, but you are. And We are going to show you that
that's a ticket right there. Solutions.
Solutions.
We can keep talking about the problem.
I have
all
solutions,
we
but
can,
my solutions
right.
don't matter.
That's right.
I'm not in power. I'm not the mayor. I'm not the premier. I could talk until I'm blue in the face, and my solutions are not going to matter.
But
they are in power.
You know where your solutions do matter is when the mayor or the premier care enough to implement your solutions and do the right thing, which is what you're talking about.
Let me tell you something, Brad, to make things clear. I'm so pissed off because when my brother passed away, did the mayor reach out to our family and apologize for all the things that happened? Did he offer his condolences? No. Did Premier Wab Kinew reach out? If I was mayor of the city, it doesn't matter who passed away. I would be phoning that family and offering them my condolences. Because that's what you do as a mayor, as a premier. You care about your citizens. That's why they voted you in, so you can make a difference and show people that you have a heart.
No question about that. And actually, if you notice in the chat room tonight, there's a lot of people there that are chatting and making all kinds of comments, just like Mike and myself are, and even the lovely young lady we had on here, Brianna. It's saddening to think that we're in this situation and state, but this has been ramping up since I was a kid. We've watched it for years and years and years. I've heard about Winnipeg being the murder capital of Canada. That was when I was living in Alberta.
Brad, let's bring more people in. Let's bring more people. Let's bring more violent people into our cities.
Yeah.
Let's fill our streets with 1 million more people. When we can't even control what we have now, 20, 50 cities. Come on, man. Like, get real. Take care of the people we have here. Take care of the crime we have on our streets now. Take care of the things that need taken care of, and then talk about your new plans. Fix up our city. Clean up our streets. Clean up our buildings. You can't go to. I dare anybody to walk from Portage and Main down to Redwood. Wow, what a scary event that would be.
Yeah, I'm not going walking downtown at all.
I've had enough, and I put a lot on the line every time I come out here, and I speak, and I speak about what's going on and what I think they should do about it, and these rallies that we do. People say rallies don't make a difference. You're wrong. Rallies and numbers make a huge difference because people take notice. People take notice when you make noise.
Hey, you know what? You know what happened on that Polo Park expedition that we went on that day when the WMR, the Winnipeg Metropolitan Region, held their meeting about 15-minute cities, or what they're calling Plan 2050. Yeah. We were there, first meeting number 1. What did we do? We brought 200 people with us. What did they do? They stood up and they made a difference that day. That carried over to the second one in Niverville, which again ramped up to being canceled. And again, what started that? Was it them in Niverville? No, it was the first meeting that ramped up to the second meeting, which now has led to...
The people that came there and made a difference, like me, I spoke, got a standing ovation. I made a difference, and my voice was heard. And as you know, when I was speaking, they tried to shut me up as quick and as fast as they could, and I didn't allow that. You know what? I was going to say what I was going to say, and you weren't going to stop me because I have a right to speak because that's freedom of speech. Thank you very much.
Quite a few people jump out of the woodwork after event number 1 or meeting number 1 and come for number 2, but then don't get to do anything. But then, whatever. I'm going to leave it alone.
I want you to know something. I know everything I do from my heart. I've never asked for money. I don't want fame out of this. I don't need it. I just want love, care, and compassion for people. I want the best for people. We have a homeless population that's completely out of control in the province of Manitoba, in the city of Winnipeg.
It's going to get worse.
And it's going to get worse. And you walk by and you see these poor people on the streets, and don't laugh. Everyone has a story. And I shared a story about me sitting beside a guy last week. I got out of my car. I sat beside him in the rain. I went and got him food. I had water with him. And I sat right beside him in my suit. And he said, "Hey, man, what are you doing? Go back to your car." And I said, "No, I want to hear your story. What happened to you?" I offered to get the guy a job. I offered to get him in a hotel so he can go clean up. That's when we make a difference, when we care. And you know what? In a province like Manitoba, there's no way that we should have homeless people on the streets. Last week, I was at a red light. There was a beggar, whatever you want to call them, asking for money, knocking on this lady's car window. Bang, 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 bang. Scaring the crap out of this poor lady. She steps on the gas and hits the car in front of her because she was so terrified. That's what's happening to our citizens in the city. It's because addiction. It's because we have a huge drug problem in our city. It's because we have a huge mental health problem in our city. And the list goes on and on.
We have an immigration problem in our city. Which has brought drugs into our city, which is happening in the United States heavily, from fentanyl to meth to crack cocaine, to all of these extra things, heroin, you name it, it's hitting our streets. It's turning our citizens into zombies, no different than you see in places like Vancouver on East Hastings or down in Minneapolis. It's happening.
Brad, the government has failed us.
They have.
And I'm going to say this over and over again.
Justin Trudeau has failed us.
I'm all for immigration.
9 years of this.
All for immigration. My parents immigrated here, since, like many of you did. But they came to make Canada their home. They came here to become Canadians.
Proper immigration.
We have to have control of our city first, control of our citizens, control of our infrastructure. And once we have that, we can move on to bigger and better things. But right now, we're broken. Our government's broken. Our cities are broken. Our streets are broken.
Our country's broken.
We need to get rid of Trudeau, first of all, and then we need to start getting rid of other people. I'm going to tell you, the next time you get a chance to run for something in this province, whether it's a school trustee, whether it's a councillor, get out of your seat and make a difference. Stand strong. Speak. We all have a mouth. We all have a right to speak, and we can make a difference by getting out and having a purpose.
That's right. Not everybody's got the calling for this either, and that's okay. You'll find your place. But for those that are leaders, natural-born leaders, coaches, parents, grandparents, this is your chance to step up.
And you can't fool a guy like me. You can't fool a guy like me if you happen to be watching the show. I'm an undertaker. I see what's happening in our city. I see the drug overdoses. Every day we are getting people in their 40s, 30s, 20s, 15-year-olds all overdosing over these terrible drugs on the streets. Every day it's happening. The suicides in this city are completely out of control because people have lost hope. The government has taken hope away from our kids. They've lost faith to live, and that's when they commit suicide. They can't get help if they're having a mental illness problem because we just don't have the help that's needed. But yet, let's bring in more immigration. Let's bring it and let's give them a good life.
I don't even think he's bringing them in. I think that they're getting across the border as well. They're flooding Donald Trump. Actually, there's a story on Wake Up Canada News that I did last night till 3 a.m. Maybe that's why I look so tired, Al Bueller. Went to bed around 3, got up around 6. So please bear with me as I look tired. But the reality is this immigration thing is a reality here in Canada, and we're definitely being affected by it. I had some individuals who immigrated to Canada 6 years ago, and they did that all legally, and they were here a week ago, and what they told me was that they're having trouble finding a job because of all the illegal immigrants that are in the country. So when you got an immigrant who can't find a job, who's here legally, and he's saying that the illegal immigrants that are here are taking his job away, well, that's an issue and a bad problem.
You know what else drives me crazy as a person who runs businesses in the city is how they make you run your business. They almost tell you, hey, listen, we're going to pay 70% of an immigrant's wages, and you only have to pay 30%. Well, what happens to the non-immigrant person, the person who's been a Canadian citizen all their lives, who's gone to university here and can't find a job? Why don't we pay 70% of their wages? Why is it only immigrants? Do you think the Canadians that live here don't need jobs? We've said a lot in this show tonight. A lot of frustration.
Lots to think about.
A lot of anger. Lots to think about. We need change. Please pray for Brody and his family. They're going through a really hard time in their life. Brianna was really strong tonight, standing up and talking from her heart as tears run down her heart, I'm sure, because her little brother almost died. And there's many, many other little ones that are going to face these same consequences if we don't get together and call for help. We want this to be a peaceful but loud protest on September 18th at 1 p.m. at the Law Courts building. Be assured that I'll be speaking. Brad will be speaking. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of other groups that want to let their frustration out.
That's right. I'm actually going to touch on what Viola's just mentioned in the comments, which is going to be the homelessness solution, which is not safe injection sites. Not at all. And I'm going to talk about safe injection sites from my past, my experience in Lethbridge, Alberta, where they opened a safe injection site, and we got involved to stop it. We were able to show the corruption. We were able to show the fraud, the theft, the mismanagement of the whole operation, and the drugs that destroyed Lethbridge, Alberta. There's more to come on that in the weeks ahead.
Thank you for watching tonight's show. Obviously, we're not going to get to any Ask the Funeral Director questions
not
tonight,
today,
which the whole show is supposed to be about, but this was a really important topic. God bless you and your families. Please like, share, and follow the show. We have many, many good shows that are going to explode in the future. You want to be a part of it. We need rehab. We need help. We need you to be a part of us on the winning team, the team that cares about people. Take care of yourselves and each other. See you next Wednesday. Oh, wait a sec. We got a special edition of Ask the Funeral Director.
And that's coming up.
You don't want to miss this. We
got to mention it before
it's on the...
September 3rd.
No, is it the 3rd?
It's the 3rd. You told me the 3rd.
Okay, September 3rd. We have a great show. It's going to be not on our Wednesday night, on a Tuesday night.
Are you bringing Dr. Dan back?
No.
Oh, darn.
Write that in your calendars. September 3rd. It's going to be an amazing show. Pastor John Feeks is going to join us. He's a really good pastor, well known in the city of Winnipeg. He's going to talk about the Bible, where we are today in this world, according to where we are in the Bible. It's a show you don't want to miss with our guest, who's going to be right here in the studio, Pastor John Feeks, September 3rd, special edition of Ask the Funeral Director.
Are we going to put him in the middle?
We're going to put him in the middle. Good night. God bless.
Good night, everybody.